Hello, it's Nerfcraft, and this is Dameon's level 14 upgrade. And in this upgrade, you're going to be installing those MIP drive shafts. So, I think I'm going to go ahead and start by disassembling the rear. So first thing I got to do is take off the wheels, the axle carriers, or at least the bottom pins for the axle carriers. I have the STRC ones, so there's going to be a nut on the end and a screw pin on the other side. So I'll see when that's done. Alright, with all of those things being removed, I need to remove the single grub screw that holds in each of the drive shafts. And there should be one on each side. Not that you can see the right side, but there is one. Alright, to access the right side grub screw, you may have to remove the spur gear and slipper clutch. All you have to do is remove that nut and pull it all off. Alright guys, with the drivetrain uninstalled, it is now time to move on to assembling the drive shafts. So we can set the truck aside for a little bit and go ahead and open these up. Alright, just to give you a little bit of an idea of what's going on here, this is the cup. I'm pretty sure this is the part that attaches to the output of the differential. This is one of the drive shafts themselves. The ball joint will slide into the cup. I hate that beeping. It's going to slide into the cup. And then on this side, we're going to have to put some pins through it. And put the, I guess, the stub axle part of it. And that's going to hold the wheels on. And give you a little bit of grease and thread lock. Because you want to make sure your whole assembly stays together, but also moves nice and freely. Here's the stub axle part, and you can see those big holes, which is made to hold some kind of large pin. All the pins should be in here as well. So you can see one of these large pins right here. This one, and kind of pinching the larger one there. That I believe is going to slide into the large hole, and there will be another smaller pin that slides in the other way. Okay, and of course we have stuff for the other side. So it looks like they give you these shock spacer things, and you need to slide them onto the shaft there, as you can see, of the shock. I guess the MIP drive shafts are just not made for that kind of range of motion. Let's take a look at the instructions. Alright, they got warnings. May cause eye and skin irritation, can be harmful. So don't eat the thread locker, guys. Just in case you didn't know, don't eat it. Build your new MIPs with blue MIP thread gel on all set screws, and use MIP grease on all moving parts. Also useful. Don't just ignore greasing your parts. Like I said, you want them to move freely. So at this point it is getting kind of late at night for me, so I think I'm gonna go to bed, and I will continue with this project tomorrow. So of course for you it will be instantaneous, so see you in just a second. Alright guys, as promised, I am back, and I was trying to figure out how to put these together, so I went to MIP's website. That's not helping that much. Their instructions don't seem to say much, but there is a diagram, so I'm just gonna do the best that I can. I guess. So I think we need to get into this little bag. Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and open this up. Alright. So now we get this little pile of parts. Okay, let's not lose anything here. Wow, those are some pretty large scrub screws. Looks like we're going to need these small little pins. There's two kinds of pins here, these silver ones and then these like black ones. These black ones have a slot in them, and I think those are supposed to go on the end of the drive shafts. So it'd go through the hole in this. I don't know, you'll see. But for assembling the ball joint you're going to want to use this small silver one. Looks like we take one of these, we take a grub screw. I'm going to have to put it in there, and we'll need some thread lock. But for demonstration purposes, we put it in there. It's going to go inside of this like so. The pin will go through here. Alright, you don't need the grub screw, right? So this joint in here, pin, and the tricky part is that the pin's going to have to actually go through here. My dad is up early again. Are you getting sick? Are you okay, Dad?
Yes, I'm fine.
He always sleeps in. I don't understand. Alright. But you can see that's kind of how it should look. And then you use the grub screw to hold in the silver pin. And it should rotate nice and freely like this. Of course, you'll want to grease up that joint. So I'm going to go ahead and get these assembled, and I'll be right back. Alright guys, just thought I'd show you this part of the process. So I get one of these grub screws as I showed before. And then you can see that I have the pin in there. The pins are in place. If you can see the hole right on the inside of the joint there, where the silver pin goes through, I need to put a grub screw on that. But first I need to take this little convenient can right here that the MIP provided. I'm gonna open it up. And we need to actually grab a little bit of thread locker and put it on the inside of that of those threads, because these are metal parts and we do not want them to fall apart. So the tool of choice for me is a toothpick, and I did something that I saw Dark Eclipse Cart do. Just take some pliers and flatten the end of the toothpick, and you can use it to help scoop. So if we get a little glob of thread lock here, that should be plenty. And just kind of stick it on the inside of those threads. And now take your screwdriver or Allen wrench, whatever you got, put the part on it, the grub screw. Alright, so this does seem to be a 1.3 millimeter if you're looking for the correct screwdriver. And now we just need to hold the pin still while inserting the grub screw and screwing it into place. Of course, you got to get it in there to begin with and install it, tighten it down all the way, and that is in. As you can see, it's not falling apart, it's in there nice and tight. The pin should not be able to slide around at all. Perfect. And then we just repeat the same process for the other side. Alright, both of these sides have been installed. So what I believe we need to do is take one of these little white washer cone things, and I'm pretty sure we need to slide them onto the drive shaft, and they should slip onto the end like this, hopefully. Come on. This is just what the diagram looked like. And there we go. And that should keep everything together. No worries about pins falling apart. And of course, replicate that for this side. I'm just going to mention that I'm amazed at how light these are. I thought they'd be like 20 pounds. Nah, it's not that bad. But next I'm going to go ahead and take care of these, which I'm going to make sure that these are actually the size that I think they are, because I don't want to try to assemble it and then realize that I got the completely wrong size. Alright, so these little pins are actually 2.0 millimeters, and what we do with these is we're going to have to take this. Of course, we'll need to put a little bit of thread lock on each side of the yoke. And you know what? I think to make this a little bit easier, I'm going to go ahead and remove my rear shock tower from the truck. If you don't know how that works, it's just held on with 4 screws. Alright, now you've probably guessed, I need to put some thread lock on the threads of the yoke. and then put the screws in. And rather than being held together with one giant long screw pin like the old plastic yokes, these are held in with two short ones, which I find really interesting. But go ahead and start putting this in. Want to make sure it doesn't go all the way. We're going to grab our truck and slide it into place like so, and screw it down. And as you can see, that is in place. So we do the same thing on the other side. Alright, with the yokes being installed, we now need to move back towards these, the drive shafts themselves. And we're going to have to install them. But before we do that, we need to go ahead and grease up the joint so that it does not seize on us. So I have a second toothpick, because you probably don't want to get thread lock in your grease. I have a feeling that would not work very well. You can get a pile of the light blue grease that's in here. Trying. Alright. And I'm just going to kind of dab it in there wherever I can. Alright, and you work it around. Let the grease work in there, make sure it feels good. And once you think you've got enough grease, you can go ahead and grab a paper towel or napkin and wipe away all the excess. And that drive shaft should be done. And surprise, surprise, we're going to have to do this for the other side as well. Alright, now that these are lubed up really, really well, it's time to go ahead and put them onto the truck. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to take the axle carrier here. We need to slide this into the back. And you can see it's only going to go so far. You don't want it to go farther than that. The other end, the ball joint goes into the top, like so. And then to hold this in place, you of course need to insert that screw pin or whatever you have that holds in the axle carrier, and that should hold it all together. And now, just like with the stock drive shafts, we can put the pin, which I'm actually going to use one of the ones they provided, and slide the hex adapter onto that. And in this case, I also need to put my shock tower back on since I removed it. But those are on, and one thing I need to do is test for binding. And they said the way to do that is to let the shock down all the way and turn this to make sure it turns nice and smooth, which it is. And then you can press them all the way and see if it turns nice and smooth. This is almost completely locked. That is binding, so looks like I am going to have to use those washers that they included on the shocks. And then this is the same exact thing for this side. It is going to be a little bit wonky because I'm running 3 degrees on this side and 0 degrees on the other side of toe, just because I broke the 3-degree toe for the right side. But this is not binding at all, so I should only need to put the spacer on this side. Just good to know. But now I can go ahead and reinstall the slipper clutch. So now that the slipper clutch has been reinstalled, I need to go ahead and work on the shock. As I said before, I'm going to have to install one of these little shock spacers. So first thing I need to do is remove the shock. And that's held in. You could just remove the bottom screw, but I'm going to go ahead and remove the bottom and top screw because it'll just make it a little bit easier to work with. Alright, so now that the shock has been removed, I need to go ahead and I can remove the bottom brace like so. Pull off the spring. And now what I need to do is I need to somehow get this part of this rod end off. And to do that, I'm going to use some pliers, put some foam in between the pliers so it doesn't mess up the shock shaft any worse than it already is, because it's in pretty rough shape. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll unscrew the rod end from it. Alright, so now that the rad end has been removed, I can go ahead and take the spacers. Need to get them out of the package. And I can take these. And fortunately I only have to do it for this shock, like I said before. And I just slide it on. And now we can reassemble the shock and put it back onto the truck. Alright, and with the shock limiter on there, you can see that this now no longer binds when the suspension is fully compressed. Perfect. Alright, so now all that's left to do is to plug my motor back into the ESC, since I had to unplug that when I removed the shock tower, and then plug this back in, and then we can put the tires back on, and that should be it. Alright guys, well, everything is put back together, so let's see how these things work. Beautiful. Alright guys, that is it for Dameon's level 15 upgrade. So, I will see you all later. Bye!